The program itself can be written in a way in which when you post something to flag it. And as you said, Daria, it's not perfect, right? It's not a perfect world, and it can happen to ban you or to flag you in a proper way. Like if you check NAFO, you have a hot mic. Um, so if you call any company, IT company, you call any company that put AI and an IVR system, and you have to, dictate your phone number, your social security number, your blah 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 to authenticate yourself, and it doesn't work from the first time. That's AI not recognizing your voice, not recognizing the way you pronounce something. So
Andre, I'm sorry to
yes.
interrupt. A lot of times, the vast majority of times, those automated systems are not AI. I would think there's very few
Mm,
companies using them
not
yet.
yet. Not yet. Yes, you're right. But what I'm pointing to is the fact that um, it's an improving system. So what they did, these bots are small programs. What Luca was saying is having a vast script with various implications that will take in account various aspects, not just words, but behavior, um, topics, people. Actually, the doctored images have script behind them, so you can recognize the fact that it is, as a program. You can see the metadata that was loaded, so you know that it's not a genuine picture or a genuine movie. So you can put this in the program, but in order to have a good program, a good filtering program, you need time. And as Luca said, it needs improvement, which means people who actually, work on the program. So it can be done. That's the point. It can be done. It can filter out 90% of what's right now pretty easy, and it can go down to details, finer details later in the game. But it can be done from the program, from the people who own the company. So it's not um, what Luca is telling. It's yeah, you say he expressed himself like flipping a switch, meaning turning a program on, right? Uploading it. It's not about writing it is not flipping a switch. Writing it takes time. Writing it takes energy and brilliant minds, but it can be done, and we do have the people to do that. And they learn and they improve. So that was the topic. But going back to, I hope I make sense, right? I wanted to point that out. It can be done, so it's not something that it's futuristic. We are looking at Star Trek, and I don't know um which lady is serving us virtual food. um so that was on AI. um and then I want to switch the topic. So I see you have an answer to that, and then I want to switch the topic to something else, if it's okay.
That is perfectly fine by me. This was not my topic of choice, and I'm not trying to keep it on this all night. I think it's an important discussion to have. But I think it's been had at this point. Um, I think what you're saying is very well meaning. Um, I I'm not sure if you're aware what actually goes in from a computing power standpoint and an electricity standpoint into having a language model or any form of AI running on a computer, right? And then having
I
it
do.
detect those
I
things. So you're talking.
I actually do.
Okay, so you're talking then about millions of posts, millions of images, millions of videos a day going through, right? So something like what you're talking about is useful, right, by a Twitter moderator if they're getting a report that this video looks like it's a fake video. If the Twitter moderators aren't removing posts for violations, it doesn't matter. That being said, what you seem to be proposing and what Luca may or may not have been proposing, I don't want to put words into his mouth, was that this can be done for everything. And it can't. The amount of electricity you would have to use and the amount of computers, even if it was supercomputers and you and servers, and you weren't using what we have access to. We're talking about an investment far outweighing the actual monetary money that's coming in from Twitter or similar companies, right? Unless you convince the US government to give a very substantial grant, and we're talking about in the tens to hundreds of billions of dollars, you're not going to be able to do that, right? So when one person is doing is using those programs, or if you're paying online for a program to do it, there is a computer somewhere, a server somewhere, a bunch of computers, okay, that is using their processing power in order to complete those tasks. Okay, that's what big sorry, I don't want to go down that road. In any case, the point being is if you look at what that takes with the current technology we have, it is Star Trek. It's not there yet. We make the next technological jump, whether it's going to graphite chips or whatever it is, right? We get to a point where we have more computing power and we figure out a way to use the AI with less resources than we're currently doing for what we have at the moment. And that may be 6 months away, it may be 2 years away. I'm not saying this is 20 years down the line. I don't know, and anybody who does is lying to you. But we're not there yet. And to say we are there yet is wrong. It's just look at the data as far as what it actually takes to do the type of tasks you're talking about, and then amplify that by the amount of traffic on all of these sites, and then amplify that. And then just leaving that aside, look at the environmental impact of that, right? If you think Bitcoin mining was bad on the environment and bad with the amount of electricity people are using, or streaming, or people playing video games, you're going to have every crackpot and person who thinks that we're going to die within a couple of years coming down. You're going to have the vast majority of people that believe in green energy as the solution, and that we're going to destroy our planet if we continue coming down, and nobody's going to be in favor of it, right? I just don't think it's a realistic at this point answer. Will it be in a couple years? Quite possibly. Thank you.
So we started this discussion about disinformation. So let's not right. So that was the topic, one, and two, about AI generated images or films. And what I was saying was that you can actually insert lines of code that will filter the message before it's posted, or right when it is posted. And if you think there are not filters right now, you're very mistaken, very much mistaken. So yes, it will slow the process a bit, but you don't have to apply to everything, right? So at first. Anyway, we are going into semantics right now. I know what so I wasn't talking about a full scale program, but yes, you can actually, and there are actually right now, what you are, what you're being, anyway, let's we will go down the road from here, half an hour. How half an hour from here we will still be here because this is a big topic actually. But let's I think we agree that at least it needs to be done, right? Let's agree on that. Disinformation is bad. The fact that human people are superficial enough in some cases or uninformed enough in others to buy disinformation is bad. So we have to fight for a better solution. I hope we at least agree for that. And maybe we go to Karen um, before we change topic because she has been really really patient with us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi.
just before Karen goes, um can we wrap this up, and then I want to kind of run through the news at the top of the hour. Kind of missed it because we got deep into discussion. But yeah, I would like to wrap up this topic, and then we can move on.
Will do, Sloppy. So we're in agreement, Andrea, 100% that those filters and work on them needs to be done, and that there are things that can be done that should be implemented. Right? We're not disagreeing. It's just important to remember those filters aren't AI. Right? When there's a filter filtering out keywords on a Twitter thing and it locks your thing, that's not AI. That's not what AI is. That's something different. That is a line of code within the algorithm that is causing a response to trigger, like with a program, whereas AI is something a little different. But I appreciate the time on this. It is important, and let's move on and not beat a dead horse anymore.
Hello. Yes. I have been off Twitter for a good portion of the day, and except with some banter regarding uh, the Iditarod dog race and some defense, uh, looking at defense tweets. And I almost overlooked this, and this is why I came back on. And James Healy, our James Healy, uh, made a tweet about this, and I DM'd it to Napo Dave and to Slavy. But there are new Twitter settings for those of you who may have overlooked it because they didn't make a big announcement. It was announced, but it was done quietly in a way that most of us wouldn't call. Earlier this week, and I'm reading from Forbes, Twitter, or rather X, announced that audio and video calls are now available to everybody on the service. This means that anybody you follow, anybody, can make an audio or video call to you, unless you have it specifically turned off. Okay? And so if you have not done so already and you don't want to receive calls from literally anybody that you have followed, okay, you need to go to your messages and then go to setting, okay, and then you need to turn this feature off. Now, if for some reason you choose to keep it, that's your personal business. If you, then you maybe need to look at, do you want to receive all calls or do you want to receive these calls from certain people? But if you overlooked this announcement and you have this activated, you're vulnerable. And whoever calls you will be able to see your IP setting that you use for Twitter. Okay. And I found this very disconcerting. And like I said, I didn't see it until this evening. But if you have objections to this, this is something you should take care of immediately. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. I'm just gonna run through the news, the top news from the day. So, last night we were looking at, kind of watching, keeping an eye on Russia's FSB. They staged supposedly counter-terrorist operation, and this was the one in Ingushetia, Russia, and it lasted for over 12 hours. Then we have an apartment block directly hit in Russian morning attack. This was in Kherson. Russian invaders oil pipeline destroyed. This was in Feodosia, Crimea. Russians reduce military aviation activity in Ukraine after significant loss of aircraft. Also in February, Russia suffered largest average daily losses since the beginning of war. Russians drop 9 chemical munitions at once, and this was on Advivka front. Moldova rebuffs Russian Foreign Ministry statement on Transnistria, says it has no right to lecture anybody on democracy. A Lithuanian foreign minister on children killed in Odessa. Russia has to suffer immediate consequences. Senior German officials confirm the authenticity of officers of the WebEx recording. 6 Ukrainians were injured after car drives into a crowd in Poland. Russian strike Kharkov, injuring 16 people and damaging 15 apartment buildings. And then we have Turkey insists on talks between Ukraine and Russia, and this does not mean occupation is recognized. Ukraine's economy ministry signs agreement to use artificial intelligence to help with demining Ukraine. Oh, that's something good AI could be used for. Then we have Chinese representative claims Ukraine and Russia must negotiate. And of course, we have to remember in Odessa, the attack, the Russian terrorist attack, which took the lives of 12 people. 5 of them were children: 4-month-old Timofey, 7-month-old Lisa, 3-year-old Mark, 8-year-old Zlata, and 9-year-old Serhiy. Very sad. Yeah, if you guys want to talk about any of those stories, let me know. But I believe NAFO Dave had, or should we go to hands first before we go to NAFO Dave's topic?
Well, you can go to hands if we're going to move on to Ukraine. Thank you for the news update. I've been having technical difficulties. I haven't been able to use my microphone for about 30 minutes, so sorry about that. See, yeah, Edward, you joined us earlier, or you just joined us. At least I just saw you. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing better now that my mic is working.
Yeah, I've been trying to put my hand up in the web browser, but it's not been working, so I changed over to the application. But what people were speaking about earlier, I need to explain a couple things about computers. Every computer has a MAC address. That's the address that's used to talk to a router to get an IP address that's then assigned to the computer. When an actual packet travels across a network, it travels in something called a TCP IP packet. In that packet, the TCP is the control portion, meaning your message. It can be divided up into multiple pieces, but it travels inside that so that you can confirm that your package arrives in the state it should be. The IP portion is the actual traveling across the network to say where you want to send it to, like a post office address. So if the Russians decide to create a massive wave of communication, it's going to come from several computers or phones that are going to travel across mostly the same paths. So you can basically figure out how they're traveling and then cause the router to ignore those messages as they're transiting through via their IP/MAC address that you can trace it to. So this problem is solvable. That's all I wanted to say. Over.
Yeah, it is, even though VPNs will, and those will make it a little more tricky, but we'd like to move on to Ukraine. So are you, do you have a comment on Ukraine or a clarification we can do quickly?
No, move on to Ukraine. Enough time's been taken on other stuff, Matho, Dave. Go ahead. Not important.
Oh, I'm not saying that it's not important, it's just not our subject matter. So yeah, I want to touch up on some news that I do usually on the NAFO night shift. We spend some time on the how things are going in the medical field and with medics and hospitals and treatments and etc. Because unfortunately, that's what war is all about. It's about blowing people up, and so there's a whole other side of the war about keeping people alive, which is not quite so important to the Russians. The Russians don't seem to really care if they keep people alive because they can just bring in more. Ukraine, on the other hand, is very worried about keeping people alive because that's just who they are, as Slavi has pointed out several times earlier, that the Ukrainians care about life. And one of the things that there's a group, Physicians for Human Rights, they keep track of all of Russia's war crimes against physicians because attacking such as blowing up a hospital or a ambulance or specifically targeting medics, taking them prisoner, those kind of things, those are all those are all war crimes. So, and so far there's been an update they released that we are now up to 1,336 attacks on healthcare facilities by the Russians. There are 699 of damaged hospitals and clinics. Just one more. I'm sure it's probably over 700 now. This was, let's see, this was released on February 20th. So these kind of numbers, they make the point that this is the most of any war that people have in the past have kept track of these kind of things, and this war is far and away the most devastating for the medical community of Ukraine because, surprise, surprise, Russia has been specifically targeting these things, and they continue to target them, and it just drives me crazy when I see the UN or countries or anything issuing strongly worded letters. What good is a strongly worded letter? Russia is not going to stop attacking health facilities until we take the ability of Russia to attack away from them. there's a to go along with this, there was a tour of several Ukrainian medics with a ambulance that had been blown up by the Russians. They did a tour of 10 different cities in the UK recently, just this last week, and went around to try to raise awareness. They sat outside of the Parliament building in London and talked to everybody they could about what's going on and about how Russia is specifically attacking medics and doctors, and all the healthcare system is being targeted. I'll put it in the nest in a bit when I'm done talking. There's a interactive map that you can use to look through and see where all of these things are happening in Ukraine. I wanted to bring that up because it's important for us. We have 20, 22 hours of booms and things exploding and all sorts of military analysis, but it's very important also to look at the other side, the medical community. How are they dealing with it? How are they able to keep Ukrainians alive and still still in the fight? That's just as important, I think, maybe even more important from a humanitarian point of view as to what's going on in this war. Slavi, do you have any additional comments on this story? Did you get a chance to look it over?
I was just looking at it, and I've been seeing that they're bringing the ambulances around Europe just to show war crimes like these that are still happening. And now we're in the hundreds. Um, it just seems crazy to me that if it would happen to any other European country once, the free world would not stand for it. But this is happening in Ukraine over and over again. Kindergartens, hospitals, um, maternity wards. Um, so this is just Russia is, like, I guess, trying to get us used to these war crimes because it seems like it's getting normalized, which we absolutely cannot let it happen. But it seems like people are getting desensitized to these atrocities that Russia is doing, and it's horrendous to even think that people of the so-called free world are okay with it. Even some are more than okay with it, but those are truly evil people that wish on genocide. But yeah, that's what I wanted to add to that. I'm I remember I was seeing a story actually from Ukraine uh that has actually is doing like emergency AI carriers where they don't have to use people, so they can just use them to get them in the front line in an emergency. So I was just kind of looking for more details about that. Um, but yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to add in the meantime. Let's go to Arye.
Are you speaking to a muted mic, are you?
I am so sorry. Thank you. Um, Sorry about that. I'm really brain dead at this point, and I'm going to be going to bed soon. I probably should not be speaking publicly at this point. Slavi, if you send me a message, I won't open it tonight. I'll do it first thing in the morning. Otherwise, I will forget. Um, uh, uh, about the carriers, and I'll send you a couple of articles and some information on them. I've seen several things on that, and it should be pretty easy to find them again. Um, so that's number one. Number two, in regards to the hospitals and the targeting of health infrastructure and other generalized civilian infrastructure targets, right? Where things such as water, purification or processing plants and electricity, right? The news media, in my mind, and this is my opinion, in many countries has, depending on their political leanings, right, biases. And they tend to play stories that support causes or various things that they care about. There has been the media was very good about Ukraine in the beginning of the war, and there has been a tapering off. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that at a certain point, a lot of people, they tune it out, they can't deal anymore, right? A lot of people, unless it's, even if it's something they really care about, it becomes overwhelming and depressing, and they start shutting it out. And I think a lot of the media realizes that has a bad effect on clicks, right? If you're constantly seeing stories, gloom and doom about this and that, you're going to get depressed, right? And there's a certain amount that people in general can take. And I think a lot of media focuses on causes and political issues that they want to push. And I think the sad reality is even a lot of pro-Ukrainian media has other causes that they prioritize over it. And sadly, most media at this point is not altruistic, right? They're pushing their beliefs, they're pushing their ideas. They might not be lying to you, but they have a spin, and they have a bias, and they have a goal and an objective. And yeah, I'm starting to space out. I apologize. I'll be popping off in a few minutes, but I hope that was coherent. Thank you.
It was. Thank you. Yeah, and that's true. Being here on MriyaReport now for over a year and a half, unfortunately, I missed out on the first few months of it, but it gets wearying to continually talk about these things, and it takes a certain mindset. I think there's a lot of masochists that that volunteer at MriyaReport, because you have to be able to deal with the depression and the overwhelming sense of hopelessness that sometimes you get from seeing these stories of war over and over. But yet, what gives me hope is being able to come on here and help to get support for Ukraine, um, and to support causes through the MriyaReport, such as the one that we've got going right now, where we're raising funds for to get DJI some Mavic 3 thermal drones for the 13th Battalion of the 95th Air Assault Brigade of Ukraine. So they need thermal drones. Drones are disposable, and so they go through them very quickly. And thermal drones are very important for spotting other people and for finding out where the enemy is, surveillance, etc. So if you can, if any of the things that we cover here, the news stories that we talk about on here, if they make you mad, they make you depressed, they make you want to do something, and you feel hopeless, you feel like you can't do anything because mainstream media is not covering this like it should, um, then you can go to MriyaReport.org and donate uh, as much as you can, $1, $10, $1,000, as much as you can, and all of it will go to help in Ukraine. And you can take some hope in that you're bypassing all of the media, all of the problems that the media is talking about that is not Ukraine. You're going straight to the source and giving money to Ukraine, to the 13th Battalion specifically, and you can help the 13th Battalion with their drones. That can, it gives me a sense of hope to be able to do something and to help rather than sit back and wring my fingers about, wring my hands about how inadequate I am. I can help a little bit. Every little bit helps. So please, and if you can't donate, um, retweet the space. Let people know that we're here, and because if you can't, then somebody else will be able to donate, and they can hear about it through you. So thank you, and welcome. We have our resident Swede has come to join us this morning. How are things in the Great White North?
Things are good. I didn't just wake up, unfortunately. I woke up almost an hour ago. And I tuned in here because you guys keep me company. My dog walks in the morning. Uh, I think, in a way, sadly enough, you do get desensitized, and then something happens that kicks you back into, oh my God, this is horrendous. I wish that it didn't happen. I have been covering or keeping up with Ukraine off and on for since the invasion began. Actually, a little bit since before. Um, and I've said this in a different space. There seems to be a a thing going on where they're trying to kick off things in other places to make you look in a different direction. I saw it happen during the Masa Amini, what is it, Freedom Life Woman Life Freedom, one of them. That is the name of the uprising. And there were some things you could see a cycle, and something kicked off after the initial uprising. Something happened to kind of switch the world focus away from Ukraine. And a smart person told me, whenever you see this happening in the world, look back to the initial place where you had your focus and see what is going on there. Because the first time this happened in during the uprising in Iran, which I totally support, they should like overthrow that regime. It's evil. Russia kicked it up a notch when it came to barraging Ukraine, and it was like you just moved away the focus for just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit, and all of a sudden it was just raining missiles all over Ukraine. And since then, whenever something happens that would shift my focus a little bit away from Ukraine, I remember that one of my friends said, "What is it that Russia doesn't want me to see?" And I go back to Ukraine and I look to see what's going on. And it is, and it also upsets me knowing that Russia, on average, commits 72 war crimes, around 70 war crimes a day, and they've been doing it for over 2 years. I don't think that we'll ever be able to put Putin in The Hague because, frankly, who's going to go get him? I don't think that he's. I wish that he was stupid enough to leave, and I don't think that he will have his day in court because he doesn't want it. He knows he's going to hang. My dog and cat are fighting. Um, but this is also why it offends me when people talk about an off ramp for Putin. No, he doesn't deserve an off ramp. Russia doesn't deserve an off ramp. They don't get off the hook this time. And we should make them pay. We should make them remember because that is the only way that Russia will learn its lesson. You do not attack your neighbors. Thank you.
Thanks so
Oh,
much,
thank you.
Jamie. Um, yeah, as the more Russians do this to Ukrainians, the angrier Ukrainians get. So earlier, I was, upset that there's this peace deal is circling again, and people are talking about it, and I vented on it, and the thought of, making a peace deal with somebody that's genociding, with a nation that's genociding you, I mean, people are out of their mind to think that Ukrainians would ever secede to anything that Russia wants after they're killing kids, have been killing kids, hospitals, ambulances. I mean, it's yeah, this it's just impossible. And while others kind of watching it are getting desensitized, Ukrainians are getting more angry and angry and angry. So yeah, this is absolutely it's terrorism when people kind of go around and say Ukrainians should make a peace deal. It's absolute terrorism, just tone deaf terrorism. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add. NAFO Dave, did you want to go?
Well, I just wanted to ask you if you've talked to any friends or family in Ukraine about how they what they think about the circulating ideas of peace deal.
They support Zelensky's peace deal because it's very much, I mean, it's broken down and what needs to happen for Ukraine to reach its what where it wants to be, reach its freedom for and to continue to actually, that's just the beginning of it, the 10-point peace plan. But I mean, I have close relatives. They're old though, and they're in Kharkiv. They can't, uh, or they don't want to, and they can't leave the city. So they, I mean, they suffer through these attacks almost daily, and they're tired of it. They're tired, and they just want it to be over. So, but under no circumstances do they ever want to be under Russian occupation. So they just want Ukraine to win already. But because Ukrainians know, especially the ones that are on the border with Russia, what it's like to be under Russia again. It's gonna be a full on. It already is, but full on mass genocide if that happens, and it absolutely cannot.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you had relatives in Kharkiv. That must be quite stressful um, for you to. I hope you can stay in contact with them.
Yeah, yeah, they're old, and we tried to get them out of there, but they just they want to stay there. That's kind of the mentality of many older people in those areas. Some who could got out, but a lot of them are staying. And just recently, Zelensky said that it's not safe to go back to Kharkiv. Um, but a lot of people, a lot of my family's friends are going. Actually, they're going back and forth. Um, their kids got out. They're in Europe, but they're staying with their city. um yeah, I have an uncle that fought on territorial defense in Izum, but he got injured and he has heart problems, so he can't fight anymore. But yeah, he was a vet, and on the I think he fought even in the battle for Kharkiv as well. So yeah.
Oh, thanks. I've realized this is the longest I've co-hosted with you. First real shift. I don't really know much of your background, but um, I'll, uh, I guess I'll DM you some questions if you're open to answering
Oh
them.
my gosh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel weird talking about myself. So unless there's a question asked, and that's fine, but I just sometimes don't know how to bring it up. Um but yeah, I'm open to any questions, of course. Uh let's go to Arye.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Slavi. I hope they all stay safe. And uh, so I just wanted to respond to two things you said. The first thing is the first thing you said, right, was every time um, the there would be something internationally that was big, that it would draw attention away from the Ukrainian war. right? And that's exactly what the Russians want, and that's exactly what they've been trying for. It has that effect, right? These, in many cases, with many things, they are different fronts in the same conflict. Until we as a society and in the West as countries start realizing that Russia is at war with us, and that they are doing everything to distract us from this and disunify us, right? Our strength is in unity, is in working together to overcome this. They do not work together in the same way. They'll take advantage of each other. And I'm referring to Russia, Iran, China, and other countries in their alignment. They will share information, they will give each other stuff, but they don't have the same ability to work together. It was the same thing with the Allies and the Axis during World War II, right? And we need to, as a society, wake up to that. And our politicians and public figures need to start speaking about this. Because the longer that it takes, the worse it's going to get to deal with it. The second thing I wanted to say is you're 100% right. You cannot impose a peace on people with another people who do not want peace with them and are calling for their genocide or actively engaged in it. Both sides, in order for land deals to work, both sides have to legitimately want peace and be willing to give up grievances. The idea that any country can impose a peace on a country that has actively had genocide committed against them and currently being committed against them is insane to me. And I completely empathize with you and Ukrainians over feeling how batshit crazy that is. And I say that as a Jew who supports Israel. And I say that as somebody who's not against a Palestinian state. But I see the same thing repeatedly. You know, people trying to impose peace, and there are other conflicts also where this is applicable. I don't want to just say these are the only two. There are some smaller ones where it's similar. But it's insane, and it's done. I to an extent understand the pain when Ukrainians hear it and they look around and they're like, how the fuck? And I'll put a tip in the jar for that. I apologize, it slipped. You know, how the world or anybody can say this with a a straight face, and media people and actual legitimate politicians can say it. It's just insane. And it blows my mind, and it only feeds into what the Russians want. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ari. Yeah, also, as I was venting earlier, and people don't know this, but I mean, Ukraine tried to make a peace deal with Russia many, many times. But how can you possibly make a peace deal with somebody that never, ever keeps up their end of the deal? Ever. We have 1994 Budapest Memorandum. Russia broke that. 1996 Russian-Ukrainian Friendship Treaty. Russia agrees to respect Ukraine's sovereignty, refrain from use of force against Ukraine. 2014 Russia invades Crimea and Donbass. 2014 Lvovsk Green Corridor. Russia pledges to let Ukrainian forces leave the encircled town of Lvovsk. 2014, Russia opens fire instead and kills 366 Ukrainian troops. 2014 and 2005 Minsk agreements, 200 rounds of talks, and 20 attempts to a ceasefire. Russia agrees to ceasefires. 2014 to 2022, Russia violates all ceasefires. February 24th, 2022, Russia fully invades Ukraine. 2022, Black Sea Grain Initiative, Russia pledges to provide maximum assurances for safety and security of all vessels involved. 2022, 2023, Russia repeatedly hinders operations. 2023, Russia withdraws unilaterally. I mean, this is rounds and rounds of peace talks or whatever you want to call them, trying to make a deal, but Russia kept breaking them, each one of them. So how in the hell can Ukraine even work with that? It's impossible. And of course, Russian propaganda is saying that Putin whispers of a peace deal when he's losing. Yeah. But to make it look like it was Ukraine, it was Zelensky, that's the problem. He never wanted to make a peace deal or um yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. And I truly find it that it's complete and utter terrorism when people think that Ukraine should make any sort of peace deal. It's insane. Insane. Um, Hello, good morning, mockers.
Good morning, lovely. I'm just dragging myself out of bed. But Dave, if you're ready, you can go roll off into the sunset, and I will I'll take your place.
Oh, you're out of bed and you've had your 2 drinks of coffee.
Oh my heck!
Are the cats fed?
Oh,
Okay, I can hang on until you get all those things done. I'm good.
bless you.
So,
Yeah, I think Jenny was next.
All I wanted to say is, in order for negotiations for peace to work, you need to have two good faith actors. And considering the amount of treaties, signed treaties, that Russia has um, violated, actually just ignored, I don't think that there is good faith on that side. And if you know of a good faith actor that can, so, that can um, actually negotiate for Russia and make sure that Russia keeps whatever negotiations are, or the whatever they agree on, make them keep them. Let me know. And I have said the same thing to people who have advocated for the same thing when it comes to Israel and Palestine, specifically Hamas. And I'm like, point me in the right direction to who can I talk to on the other side that will actually be a good faith actor. I'll wait. I am patient. I've waited for a long time for this to happen, and I'm patient because you can't. They will break the treaties again and again and again. And that is because they don't want peace. They just want you to believe that there is peace so they can go in and do some more effing around. And it is time for Russia to be moving on to the finding out phase. And if 400,000 killed and injured in 2 years doesn't make you find out, doesn't like set off a light bulb saying, this isn't a really good thing. Personally, I think the only reason why they're still there is because they know that they're gonna have to pay. They know that the rest of the world is really, really pissed off. And let's keep it that way. Because much like Slavi, I just get more and more angry. And it's it it is not like me to be this angry. Slavi has known me for 2 years now, and she knows that I'm not an angry person. I'm usually a really, really nice person. I can be really, really, really nice. I can also be really horrible when I get really angry. And the war in Ukraine pisses me off like nothing else. And again, I don't get enough credit because for not swearing more than I do. And it's because I don't have enough money for the swear jar. I really don't.
I'd like to see you try though. I mean, that'd be pretty impressive, I think.
Let me just put it this way. I learned through a meme I was supposed to mutter and not be loud and proud when I say the F word and MF words, and in my natural habitat, like when I'm naturally speaking, I can fit in the F word every other word. That is not a problem. and I'm quite impressive with the swearing, and I can get real creative too.
Yes. Oh, yes, she can. That's very true. Um, yeah, that's why Zelensky 10-point peace plan is a good place to start. And but that involves the whole international community. That's the whole international level effort. And there's this weird, I don't know, American kind of attitude. Oh, let them make a peace deal. Let them work it out. It doesn't concern us. Not our war. They're one of their favorite things to say. It's not our war. It's not our war. Well, they're very, very misinformed that in fact it is their war. It's our war. Fighting for democracy and freedom of the free world. Will, please go ahead.
Yeah. So when you talk of terrorism, that is strong language to use, but probably apt in the context that you used it. And I think we really need to start recognizing this. And well, people were saying, well, what good would it do to list Russia as a terrorist state? Because it puts a big burden on the folks who want to enforce on it the stuff that you can do on terrorists. I'm kind of coming around to thinking that might be a good idea anyway, because not only are they using weapons on civilians in a manner which induces terror as part of their genocide campaign, yesterday we also get confirmed evidence again from the ZSU that Russia is using once again chemical weapons, and I'm not talking about a CS gas grenade thrown into a trench to suppress people so you can take over a trench. I'm talking about artillery-based delivery of chemical weapons, which is an entire level of escalation itself. That means you're using, they say, 6 artillery shells with chemical weapons in them on an area. That's World War I level of chemical gas use, folks. Letting Russia escalate like this and not responding phenomenally strongly on it means that they will create further escalations. The use of chemical weapons, folks, is against international laws of warfare, and there should be penalties applied to Russia for doing so. There should have been penalties applied, frankly, in their first use. Every time they seem to get in trouble taking something, they result to chemical weapons use. They've used them in Bakhmut, they used them in Avdiivka, and they're using them again. So that is a terror weapon, and that's one of the reasons it's banned. And so calling Russia a terrorist state is actually pretty accurate at this point. And I really want to know when Mike Johnson and anybody else who's not really totally leaning in to give Ukraine everything it needs. Taurus, ATACMS, more Bradleys. I mean, everything, folks, because they need to get all these weapons and the ammunition to feed them totally so that they can win this war as quickly as possible. Russia doesn't deserve to be treated with any deference or, in fact, any respect at this point by the international community. They've blown up the Novokakhovka Dam. They regularly use S-300 surface-to-air missiles on ground targets, and they can't aim them. It's a war crime, folks. I understand war is terrible. War crimes are even worse terrible. Everybody agreed, including Russia, that we wouldn't do certain things, and they don't care about the rules here. They're a terrorist state. They are, Slavi. You're right.
100% correct. Arya, I thought you were going to bed.
Dog needs to go to the bathroom, and dog is more
Oh.
important than myself. So until he poops, I'm with you guys. Probably for about 5 minutes after that. I think it was Jenny. It might have been Slavi. I apologize. I'm really tired. Your voices sound nothing alike, but I forgot which one of you said it. That we may not be interested in this conflict, but it's happening, right? The Russians see it as a war. They've been talking about it like that and only escalating their rhetoric and their actual doctrine as far as how they view Western countries. I would like to take a second. During World War II, Fannie Hurst in Cleveland, Ohio, at a rally for freedom and bonds, she said this: "We may not be interested in this war, but it is interested in us. I'm not trying to sell it to you, but no one can evade the fact that we are in the path of the storm. We dare not be disunited when liberty, the most precious jewel in our national strongbox, is at stake." And I think that that's as relevant today as it was back then in the face of the aggression that was going on. And I urge people to remember, you might be able to think that this is something we're doing online or that isn't necessarily affecting you, but it will affect you, and it will affect your children's generation and their generation. And the outcome of whether or not we can stand united in the face of the tyranny that is opposing the free world, or not, will dictate that, and will dictate how long it will take to recover and how much we will lose in this process. But I do believe we will eventually overcome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I did not know that Slavi and Jenny were longtime friends. It's it's amazing how Ukraine has brought so many people together that would usually never ever cross paths. But I've uh, gained hundreds of friends through MriyaReport and other activities of supporting Ukraine that I never would have had the opportunity to otherwise. It's been very enriching for my life to find so many people of various backgrounds and all different types of people that are united behind Ukraine, and it does give me hope that we can all support Ukraine and beat off the Russia terrorist state, which will aptly called. That's one of my favorite hashtags. Is Russia is a terrorist state. Lots of my posts have that hashtag. And Totemockers, are you? How are you doing on the cats and the coffee? Apparently,
Can
you've
you
got
guys?
that
Couldn't find me
talking.
button to unmute.
You've got that
So,
talking to a muted mic down pretty good, huh?
yeah, that didn't help. Yeah, fine. One is fed and one is looking at me here as I am opening this packet of cat food. Yeah, it's okay, mate. All right, yeah, got it. Virtually climbed my leg for that then. Yeah, so I'm actually upright and it's all good. So yeah, good to go.
Okay, because my cat is here clawing at my wheels, trying to get me to give her treats before I go to bed. So see, you have a cat that needs your attention, and so do I. We're all united behind our under the ever so gentle, furry, clawed foot of our overlords here. I will take my leave. It's been great hanging out with you, Slavi. and everybody else that has joined us tonight. And please, if you can retweet the space, Mockers is a bit of a diva. She likes to have an audience, and she's about to read the numbers, I think, and boom reports and other tales of woe. So please retweet the space if you have a chance. If you can, please donate at MriyaReport.org for the Mavic thermal drones. And my cat, my furry overlord, sorry, I misspoke. My furry overlord, Alice, is here to also wish you, everybody, a very sound Slava Ukraini and good whatever time of day it is in your preferred time zone.
Did I lose Dave?
Thanks. Thanks so much, Nifo Dave. It was lovely co-hosting with you, as always, and looking forward to next time. I wanted to kind of to continue this briefly because this just came out, and as we know, Zelensky words everything so brilliantly, and he said that he warns that the U.S. and Europe is losing to Shahed drones or Russian fighter jets, and he's not wrong. So Zelensky has urged that partners of Ukraine to harshly react to Russia's terrorist actions in Ukraine and not allow the US or Europe to lose to Iran-made Shahed drones or Russian fighter jets. I don't know if it's going to get anyone triggered that the West is losing to these Shahed drones, but I couldn't have said it better myself because it's true at this point. If Ukraine isn't armed, then definitely losing to these Iranian-made Shahed drones.
Well, morning, by the way. I am quite sure that the world shouldn't lose to these things. But I've noticed that there's now going to be another couple of weeks, maybe 4 weeks or something before there's a decision made in the US. I don't know. It all seems very contrived to take as long as possible, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess we're waiting till mid-March now till they prolong this too.
Yeah, I don't know. It was amazing how they could make quick decisions before, and now this one is going to take nearly another month, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It just it makes me a little bit tetchy about the whole thing. You know me though; I can be quite grumpy. So, where was I? What was I going to say? Oh yes, retweet, my lovelies, because I have some numbers for you. And well, I'll just say again, there have been some real hotspots as far as I can tell. Oh jeepers! Sorry, I thought that was Russia then, and it's not. It's snowed in vans in North California, of all places.
Yeah, it's here. It's not the Polish-Ukrainian border. It's here in California, just about 40 minutes away from me. But there's no snow here. It's just in the mountains. But it's some crazy scenes.
Yeah, well, well, I would imagine that most Californians are not prepared for a large amount of snow anywhere, really. It's not like, regular, is it?
No, well, unless you're in the mountains, and then yeah, Californians up there are prepared for it. But for the most part, Californians don't really know how to behave, not even in snow, but in the rain. I'm not kidding. It's people become a different Californians become a different breed of their own when it rains. But I think that's another topic for another time. Yeah.
Sorry, my phone's not playing with me today this morning. I just couldn't get back in the app then for some reason. So give me 5 minutes, I might crash. Anyway, there's been a few things happen overnight, but one that caught my eye in particular was this. As a result of an explosion on a railway bridge in the Samara region, there has been damage to the metal structure. Now, 4 trains are now delayed as a result. Now, I appreciate that Samara is quite a way away, but it's still this consistent attack on the rail infrastructure, and they're using, the refineries over the Far East to process a lot of their fuel, and they're also, moving stuff from perhaps the Far East direction in order to, move it into Ukraine. And I think we have to sort of keep in mind that I love it when my brain does that. Thanks so much. I have to literally go back and find the tweet before I can carry on talking. That's weird, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Right, okay. So this was just a little bit of something that's happened again and continues to happen. And there's not loads of reports on it, but you add all these little things together, all these little acts of sabotage, partisan action. Sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time before I've had my coffee. There you go, that's better. I've been trying to ask for a co-host invite and I just couldn't get my brain around it at all. Sorry. Oh dear, you've caught me like I'm half awake. Dear, oh dear. Right, so, oh, there it is. There's my co-host invite. There we go. See, asking ye shall receive. Now, folks, unfortunately, Sololyovov, he's alive. He's alive, and I'm not going to say well, because I'm quite sure he's got mental problems. But he was looking around for somebody to talk to about the US elections, would you believe? And instead of talking to his regular pundits, no, he thought that a good person to ask about it was Bashar Assad. Yeah, okay, so fair enough. But basically they talked about, well, various truth, lies, and US elections, as far as I can tell. I'm not going to watch the whole thing because we'd be here a while, but it's a bit of a shame to note that he's still alive and well. Well, alive, okay, I can't say well. You can imagine what what conclusion they came to, can't you? Can you imagine, Slavi, what these two guys thought that America should do with their future?
Oh my gosh, what did they think?
Well, they think that America should just hand everything over to Trump and become a dictatorship and never have to worry about the little things ever again. Because that makes loads of sense, yeah?
Right, I'm guessing those same guys are for isolationism is great.
Bashar Assad is a bit of a pin, one of them himself. So, he's not exactly a nice person, technically. And I'm
He's
quite
a
sure.
full-on dictator.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I was sarcasm in the morning. So Yeah, exactly. He's not exactly a free thinker, shall we say, either. So, yeah. Why doesn't some propagandist and an autocrat just make decisions about America's future? Well, that's kind of how they want this. Oh dear. So, wow. Even the CEO of Newsmax, yeah, Newsmax, which is like massively crazy right wing half the time, even he is calling for Mike Johnson to sort out Ukrainian aid. So there you go. Just so you know, that if the semi-crazy people are saying that the decision to slow down aid and what have you to Ukraine is the wrong one, because they're scared that we're leaving ourselves open to leaving ourselves open to being attacked in the future. And just to note, Milosevic's former propaganda minister, well, in Serbia, I don't know, he's urging the party to fight for something. I don't know, there's a lot of waving of fists. But for a moment, I thought it might have been Belarus, but no, it's Serbia. And it's well, let's just say he's not calling for peace. It's one thing after another. You know, we've got all these people suddenly flaring up in the info space and within countries of, you know, they're all trying to create what? Instability, a distraction, problems for the future. I don't know. If I found somebody actively plotting against me, well, let's just say I'd have plenty of reason to investigate them for other things. I know here in the UK we like to be terribly lenient, but we have started getting a little bit more serious with regards to spying and people being caught out spying, which is something, I suppose. You know, I'm relieved for that, but I can guarantee that there'll be tons more that we haven't picked up. Sorry, I'm just dying as well a little bit. So, let me see. The New York Times have brought out an article about the CIA in Ukraine. you know the CIA. Anyway, yeah, I know they don't